Good evening, boys and ghouls. Welcome to Where the Scary Things Are. I'm your host, Monster Mash Ken, and with me is my co-host, the Mistress of Darkness, the Queen of Fright, the Lady of the Night, Muse. How you doing tonight, lady?
Pretty good. It's all sunny here this week, and I'm glad there's no storms, and we've got power.
That's a good thing. Yeah, I see a storm rolling in, and we'll see what happens. I got a good question for you tonight. I know you don't like camping and being outside, and you like to, maybe you build tents in your house and you pretend you're camping. I don't know, but if you were to go camping, what is one object that you must have with you?
uh, a lantern for sure, so you can see. It gets dark out there.
Oh, a
Def-
lantern. Some
yeah,
people say flashlight. You said lantern. Like I'm picturing like one.
yeah, that's exactly what I would be bringing. See, the thing is, lanterns, flashlights eat batteries, so I don't want to be in the dark.
Well, how
So
are you gonna light the fire? Wouldn't you say matches?
yeah, well, yeah. You can tell it. Well, I don't camp. Camping for me is like not getting room service at the hotel. So, I mean, or like roughing it, I guess you could say, not camping. But yeah, camping for me is going to the hotel, not being in my own bed. I'm like, yeah, camping, it's definitely not my strong suit.
Well, I have a feeling that our other co-host here, Chris the Creature, the man, the myth, the legend, knows all about it and roughing it. What's up, Chris? How you doing?
Hey, I am doing wonderful. We got those thunder and lightning storms that Muse had last week. They're here now. So if I all of a sudden am gone, you know what happened. But I am doing wonderful. I'm a bachelor this week. Been watching so many movies. Got two blogs going, and I'm like in like heaven here.
That's what I like to hear, man. Anytime you're happy, I'm happy, which is pretty much all the time you're happy. So I'm happy all the time. But somebody who's probably not happy because they're in the pits of Florida, the man behind the horror of PromoteHorror.com, Horo. What's up, my friend?
Oh, I'm still here in Florida, keeping up with Florida man. When he is not doing something stupid, he is stealing something, and this time he is stealing money, taking money from that money the government gave people for small businesses and buying cars with it. What a shame. Florida is just a freaking disgrace. Virus, stealing money, Florida man. And to top it off, now we have a huge storm or hurricane headed our way. So you will soon find me hiding under the stairs.
All right, with the people under the stairs, I'm sure. So, so we're very excited to be here with everybody tonight, all four of us. We have a really cool show planned. We'll be talking to Kyle Couch, who is the director of The Tent. Tim Kaiser will be joining us as well, who is the main actor, and Robert Skates, who did the cinematography of this beautifully made film. This one is probably not jump scary. It's more of an emotional. I don't even know how to explain. I can't wait to hear Chris's review on it later on. But this one hit home with some of you, and I definitely recommend this one. It's definitely a slow burn, but it's worth watching. Um, I want to say just a quick shout out to Isaac Thorne. Check out his website, isaacthorne.com. He helps us out with our opening on our podcast. So if you like that, that's all Isaac Thorne. Follow us on social media at Scary Things Pod on Twitter and on Facebook. I trying to work out the Instagram thing. I have no idea how to use it, so one day it'll happen, and I'm sure we'll get more listeners. I don't know, but definitely check out our YouTube page. Follow our YouTube page. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Do all that stuff. Just hit the little likes and thumbs up and all that, and tune in with us. Chat on us with on the little chat thing there. It's all good. So. As always, we have our normal get-ups. I will be presenting a really cool beer that I cannot wait to try. I'm salivating just from the can. I'll give you a movie that came out this day last year. I'll tell you a really cool short story that I found really interesting. Muse is going to give her Sinister Six. Promote Horror is going to tell us what's going on in the news and maybe talk about a film that pissed him off or a remake. We'll see. And Chris will be doing his review of The Tent. So let's kick off. Fear the beer of the week. Now, this one is a really cool beer. Chris, I thought of you when I bought this one. So I'm going to try to hold this up to the camera. It's called Imperial Runway Models. Now, these are model silhouettes with stormtrooper hats on and helmets. And this is a DDH Imperial IPA with Vic Secret and Galaxy. I have no idea what that means, but I am all about it. It is pretty high alcohol content, so I may get a little fuzzy towards the I only brought one of them, so cheers. And Chris, I understand you're drinking a beer with me tonight, right?
St. Pauli, I sure am. So we'll toast Toast to our listeners.
There you go. Yeah, this is a really good beer, really crisp. It's definitely got the IPA taste. This is CB Cypress Brewing Company out of Edison, New Jersey. Oh, wow, this is right down the street from me, Edison, New Jersey. So yeah, try that out. Imperial Runway Models. I dig it. Okay, so for our movie, this one was one of my favorite of the series. You guys are gonna like this. So today, July 28th, in 1989, when Chris was only 21 years old, this movie came out in theaters. Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. I think this is part 8. I love this one, especially now that I live here I live in Jersey.
He's
Hotter. Yeah, Jason ends up in New York, and he's riding the subways. He's beating up punks on the street, kicking radios. He's just running amok. There was a really cool scene. I can't remember the actor's name that was with him, but there's like a fighting scene. The guy's boxing, they're boxing, and you think this guy's going to beat Jason. Like, he's really laying into him. But it's Jason, and he pretty much just knocks his head off. So that's the horror movie flashback. Friday the 13th, part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. Definitely check that one out if you haven't watched it already. And if you have watched it, watch it again. All right, so I saw something really cool. As far as, I don't want to call it my Creepy Chronicles. That's because this is Casey's thing. So I'm just going to throw these random stories out here to kind of set the mood for the night. I'm a big New York Knicks fan. Now, I know that's nothing to brag about, but hey, being a Raider fan and a New York Knicks fan, I don't know. At least I like the Yankees. So anyway, New York Knicks. I'm reading about, and I used to have this basketball card of Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson was the point guard for the Knicks for a long time in the 80s. And I ran across this story, and I want to read it real quick. eBay pulls basketball card that appears to show Killer Menendez brothers at courtside. So I had this basketball card, and I had to do a double take. And yeah, there they are sitting front row in the basketball card. And what happened was eBay has begun pulling listings of fairly common and expensive 1990-91 Hoops basketball card featuring former Knicks guard Mark Jackson, following the revelation that notorious killers Lyle and Eric Menendez appear to be seated courtside in the photo. According to Sports Trading Card magazine Beckett, eBay has begun to pull all listings of the Jackson card, telling sellers it is against the website's policy to sell an item affiliated with murders or serial killers. It's horror, you might want to remove some of your listings. Affiliated with means items that directly associated with the person, eBay said in an email to sellers. This can include, but is not limited to, objects like photographs, paintings, action figures, flags, sculptures, pins, books authored by the person, items they have owned. So, a little backstory on the Menendez brothers. They were convicted of killing their wealthy parents in a high-profile trial in 1994 that was broadcast nationally on Court TV. The trial revealed that weeks after their parents murdered in Beverly Hills, Lyle and Eric spent the insurance payout they received in a buying spree that included a $64,000 porch, which is not. It's a lot more. I think it did double now. $64,000. 3 Rolex watches, and a purchase of Chuck's Spring Street Cafe in Princeton, New Jersey, which is also not too far from me, while Lyle renamed Mr. Buffalo's in Hope, franchising its chicken wings nationwide. So, yeah, they kill their parents, they get a buttload of money, and why not go to some sports events and sit courtside? I would do that. Why not? The Knicks were worth watching back there in the 80s. So, big ups to the Menendez brothers for spending money wisely, but not big ups for killing your parents. I know that is not cool. So that is my horror movie flashback, my fear of the beer of the week, and my weird story of the show. Throw it on over to Muse and the Sinister Six.
Okay, so we're talking about the 10th this week, and there's some pretty emotional moments and an emotional theme throughout the movie. So I thought I would go run down my 6 favorite movies that really hit me emotionally. Now, one of these films, you're probably going to disagree with me about being horror, but I'm still saying it just because it really affected me. But the first movie is definitely horror, and it's Train to Busan. And this came out in 2016. Definitely, I've talked about this before. Horror's talked about this before. I've said this so many times. It's one of the best zombie movies to come out in the last 10 years. If you have not seen this one, you got to get on it. Obviously, it's about characters who are trapped on a train, zombie outbreak. It's just absolute craziness. The movie is moving 100 miles a minute from the point they get onto the train, even a little bit before. And I guess I just was not ready for the emotional part of this movie. And, you know, there's so many complex character relationships in this one. It's so much great character development. You get so attached to the characters. And I'm not going to ruin anything, but let me just say, you better get the Kleenex ready for this one, because I was a mess by the end of this film. It definitely hits you, the magnitude of what's occurring and the sacrifices that are made throughout the film. And it's just one of those movies that just stays with you long after you've watched it. So I definitely would recommend this one, but definitely get ready for the emotional part of everything as well. I don't like being surprised emotionally in horror films. That really kind of, it doesn't aggravate me, but I'm just like, I'm not expecting that. But it's always, you know, a pretty interesting twist when they throw the emotional side of everything in there. And I think that actually enriches the story. So it definitely is one of those films that does that. The second movie is the movie that I may get some flack for saying is horror, but I definitely think it's got some horrifying things that occur in the movie, some scenes, and it's Joker from 2019. And I finally got around to watching this, and I know some out there may say this is not a horror movie, but there's definitely some horrifying scenes. And this movie, oh my goodness, I mean, I haven't this movie took me to places emotionally I have not been in a while. And Joaquin Phoenix hits it out of the park with his performance. He earned every Oscar he won for this film. It just was amazing. But just the isolation he feels in the movie, the bullying he endures, just it's heartbreaking. His character, and you know, you think the Joker, why should we feel sorry for his character? But if you watch this movie, you're going to get a much deeper sense of who the Joker is, why he became who he was, and just, you know, how they tie in even the whole the Wayne family with him, you know, Bruce Wayne's family and things like that. I really enjoyed that as well. But it emotionally hit me because it deals with a lot of topics of mental illness. And this hit very close to home for me because my family has suffered a lot of these sorts of issues as well. I also have other people I'm close to. And I've suffered from anxiety and depression myself. So I definitely, this movie just hit me. It just really emotionally affected me. So, and it was just brilliantly done. It was just a very impactful movie. I know that there's some out there that may be a little bit gun shy about seeing this movie. I know there's been some critics of it, but it's just such a fantastic movie. And I'm not somebody that's going to say, oh, you got to go see this, but I would definitely give this a thumbs up. And that's somebody who's dealt with mental illness as well. So it's just a fantastic film, and just all the way, just 5 stars. And I haven't given a 5-star rating in quite a while. Just really fantastic. The third movie is I Am Legend. And we talked about this briefly last week. And of course, it centers on Robert Neville, played by Will Smith. You know, he's a scientist. A virus outbreaks in the city. It's turning people into these mutated versions of themselves, and they're regressing. And of course, you know, Robert Neville appears to be the last man on Earth. You know, he's all by himself in New York City, and his only companion is his dog. And you guys know where I'm going with this one. So, spoiler alert, obviously, when the dog gets bitten by one of the creatures, I was just wrecked. I was like, no, not the dog. It was just, oh, I was just bawling, you know. These mutants set a trap for Will Smith's character. The dog gets bit. It's a mess. He's trying like hell to save this dog. The dog is turning, and it's just I can't even finish the scene. But the dog does not come out the other side of it, and I was bawling like a baby. To this day I will not watch it. I will fast forward right past this scene. I'm not watching it again. Once is enough. The movie is great. That scene just I can't do. That just really hit me. So if you all, most of us have seen the movie and know exactly what I'm talking about. So definitely a great movie. I love that movie. But the dog scene I could do without. I love the dog. I wanted the dog to live. I'm like, come on. Everything else is going wrong. Why can't the dog just live? But it is a horror movie, so lots of things like that happen in horror movies, but I still hated it. But the movie was great. The fourth movie, speaking of wrecking me and devastating me and scarring me emotionally, is The Mist. And obviously, we've talked about this one numerous times, but I could not have an emotional movies list without talking about The Mist, and we know the story centers on Thomas Jane's character. He and his son are going out for supplies after a storm hits their home, and they're out of power. They're trying to get to the grocery store to get what they need. They get trapped there as like this mist rolls in. All these creatures start emerging. They're trapped in the store with this crazy religious zealot lady played by Marcia Gay Harden. She's fantastic, but it seems like the people on the inside of the store are just as bad as the creatures they could be facing on the outside of the grocery store, because there's some crazy characters in there. So there's danger all around, but obviously, again, another movie with an ending that is just probably one of the most emotional endings I've ever experienced. I was definitely not ready for this. You knew something bad was going to happen, but I did not realize the scale on craziness that this was going to take, where it was going to go. I knew it was going to end bad, but I had no idea they were going to go in the direction they did. And it's just one of those things where had he waited 5 more minutes, everything would have been different. And I know most of us have seen it, but for those that have not seen it, I don't want to ruin it. But we were talking about this on Twitter a little while back about the ending, and a lot of people thought it was just a very powerful ending. And it definitely, I think the directors and the writers accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. They really hit you emotionally, and you cared about the characters by this point, and you wanted them to escape. You wanted them to be okay. You wanted everything to be okay. You didn't know what was going to happen, but you just knew that you cared about the welfare of these characters. So this was such a beautifully written movie. Impacted you. I mean, it's still, again, this is one I will not watch again. I watched the movie, but the ending, I'm just like, I grit my teeth, and either I watch it or I fast forward it. But I mean, it's hard to watch, but it's beautifully done. So I'm definitely not bashing it, but just very, very hard to watch at the end there, definitely. And for those that have seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The next movie on my list, the 5th movie, is A Quiet Place. And we hear Omar talking about this one quite a bit. And it's, I'm going to run this down just for those that have not seen it. It's relatively new, a couple years ago, 2018, I believe. And just to give you guys a refresher on what this one is about, it centers on a family that must live in silence to avoid these mysterious creatures that hunt by sound. So they know that even the slightest whisper or footstep can bring death. So the characters of Evelyn and Ali are determined to find a way to protect their children while desperately searching for a way to fight back. And I can't say too much about this film without ruining what's going to happen. But let's just say I was just like, oh, come on, and it really emotionally hits you. There's a lot of emotional moments in this movie because of the love and sacrifices family makes for each other. And it's just one of those movies you have to see. Definitely see this one. If you have not gotten on this one, definitely see it. Part 2 is coming out at some point, hopefully next year. Omar has talked about that as well. And I very much look forward to it. The first movie was excellent. So definitely check out A Quiet Place. Definitely emotional. Get the Kleenex ready. There's some definite emotional moments. And again, this is one I wasn't prepared for. I mean, I'm so wrapped up in what's going on with what they're running from. It just hits you like a punch in the face. I mean, and you're like, wait a second, but definitely check that one out if you have not seen that. I know that's relatively new. Some of us may not have seen that one. And my last movie is going back to 1990 with Jacob's Ladder. And this is another ending I did not see coming. So I'm going to run down what this movie is about in case we have forgotten. It's been a little while, 1990. So it centers on veteran Jacob Singer, played by Tim Robbins. He has returned home from the Vietnam War, and he is struggling to maintain his sanity. He's plagued by all kinds of hallucinations and flashbacks, and he's rapidly falling apart. And the world and people around him are starting to morph and twist into all kinds of disturbing images. His girlfriend, Jesse, and his ex-wife, Sarah, are trying to help, but it's not doing any good. It's to little avail. And even Jacob's chiropractor friend, Lewis, played by the brilliant actor Danny Aiello, is failing to reach him. And he's just ascending further into madness. But this is one of those movies. It's another ending where you're just like, oh my gosh, okay, you did not know exactly what you thought you knew what was going on, but you didn't really know what was going on. Very emotional ending. And definitely made me cry. Just one of those, another one of those movies that definitely sticks with you. Very, very emotional. And definitely worth a rewatch if you've not seen it in a while. And if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It's an excellent movie, brilliantly acted. So I'm going to swing around to the rest of you, and I'm going to start with Ken this week. and I'm gonna ask him. I know Ken's over here. He's like stone cold, like I have no emotions. So I want to know what if any horror movies emotionally impacted him.
So I gotta set up for this. Hold on one second. I gotta get my Oscars. I got some. You see the tears? I'm crying.
Right.
I'm crying right now. No. You actually got some really good ones that I forgot about. Definitely, the I Am Legend was anything when it comes to pets. I was like, no, and I hated it because I. All right, so truth be known, I had to put my cat down kind of the same way, and my cat was one of my best friends, and it really, 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 like Black Fridays, the day before Thanksgiving means it's a whole different meaning to me. So that's something that really hit home with me. You mentioned another. What was the other one you mentioned? Anyway, so I thought about mine. I can't believe you didn't put Pet Cemetery up there. I was waiting for that.
I was leaving that for you because I know that one.
Yeah.
I didn't want to steal anybody's answer. I left that one for you. Yeah.
All right. So Pet Cemetery, definitely. I mean, especially if you're a father, and just the emotion and that one. Like I tried watching Pet Cemetery, and I literally just turned that part off. Just like what you mentioned with the dog, I just couldn't watch it. And I have a pretty good threshold of what I could watch. But anything that comes with kids, I just can't do. In that fashion, I'm okay with other things. It's weird. I don't know. I just pick my battles, I guess. But one movie that I don't know if it's really necessarily like a horror movie, but it's definitely sci-fi to the fullest. There was a scene in War of the Worlds where Tom Cruise had to tell his daughter, "Close your eyes and don't look," because he had to go kill Tim Robbins, pretty much. And he said, "Don't watch." And it was really emotional for me because I felt bad for that little girl. She must have been so scared. But there are so many good ones. I can't wait to hear what everybody else says. Chris, what do you got?
Well, first, Muse, a terrific list when the little girl in Train to Busan was singing that song.
I
Even
know.
I was.
It was heartbreaking.
I know. You two came right to mind, and I know as soon as the show ends, I'm going to think about 50 more. But when Bruce Willis has to say goodbye to his wife at the end of The Sixth Sense.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. And it explained everything. Her depression, the meds, and, I tell you, I don't know, silly me. And the other one, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I'm not going to ruin it, and I hate to do it because I'd like to tell you more about it. Have you seen Lake Mungo?
I know, but I hear it. It's absolutely fantastic, but very emotional.
The daughter's gone. We don't know where. And the mother wants to know what happened. And you, the viewer, from 100 yards away looking, start putting two and two together. And the way it ends, where it's sort of a very interesting final reveal as far as what's going on. Very, very emotional. And those were the two that come to mind. And today's movie, The Tent. We'll get into that in a second, but boy.
All right.
I guess I'll take it away. And we spoke about this earlier, but the Twilight series just made me to tears.
You're going there.
I'm going there because I had to sit through all of that. And that was very emotional for me. I still have pain, as you can see. I'm very scarred by it. It still follows me around. It haunts me in my dreams. It's all about Twilight and that whole nonsense. No, but seriously, one that I always enjoy is Signs. There's nothing like the scene where his wife is stuck up against the tree there, and you eventually find out what is going on there and what eventually happens. That is brutal, brutal stuff right there. And I love big fan of Signs. And then just for everybody out there, I'm not going to spoil it because it's a new movie. It's The Relic. That just came out a couple of weeks ago, and that is very much in the same light as the movie that we'll be talking about tonight. So I'm not going to really spoil it, besides the fact that it is very similar in theme to what we are going to be talking about with The Tent. But that's it for me.
So good. Oh man, I feel so sad now about all this. It was a really good list, Muse. But before we throw it back to you, Muse, I remembered you mentioned the Joker. Now I got to just recycle that for a second. So I remember, I went to go watch this in the theater, and there was like this whole thing about the shootings and whatnot, and when I went to watch it, there was like armed police guards everywhere, so it made it really uneasy to watch this movie. And then you mentioned how well done like his performance was, and I I've seen so many scary movies in my life. Obviously, probably not as much as you three, but you know, I've seen a lot, and I can't remember another movie where I felt like I was on the edge of my seat and being so nervous watching this because you knew something was gonna, the music, everything, his performance, you could just tell it was building up to something, and he was so sad. It felt so sad for him, and he was getting beat. So it was really, yeah, it was really emotional, but it was definitely not like a Batman superhero movie, you know. But I
Yeah.
did love it. Yeah. So really good list, Muse. That's great.
Well, I know we're kind of like sad. I want to give us a kind of like a lift. One of my good friends who listens to the show, he left a great review for us, and I wanted to share it with you guys really quick. And this is what he says. He says he can't get enough of the show. I follow all the hosts on Twitter, and Muse and I have been Twitter friends for years. Knowing the hosts quasi personally adds a whole new depth and connection to their show. It's easy for anyone to talk horror to anyone willing to listen. The degree of difficulty and artistry lies in how they do it. These lovely people do it so well. So I thought that was really an amazing review. I think he did that on Instagram, but he did leave a review. I have to ask him where he left that. But I just was like, that is so awesome. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're going to make me cry out from the review. I'm like, but no, in a good way. But yeah, I thought
Yeah,
I wanted to share it with you
you
guys.
got to Horo there. You got to Horo. He's got to get the cleaning. But actually, you know what, Muse? That's a good. Before we throw it over to Horo, I wanted to start doing something different on the show, and you just reminded me because I keep forgetting every single show. But I wanted to kind of throw in our shout outs before, so that way
Yeah.
maybe that they don't. So let's do that just real quick, if you guys don't mind. Sorry to catch you off guard. One shout out that I had. Actually, I got to say real quick. I got to say hi to a happy birthday to my daughter Abigail, Abby Rocket. I love you so much. Her birthday was on Sunday. She's 5 years old. This little girl is changed my life for the better, other than my wife. And then my little one Lily, who is 2 years old. I got to say hi. Daddy loves you. You guys better go to bed. No messing around. Okay. I got to shout out somebody that recently popped up on Twitter with us, and we've been talking back and forth. But their is Inside Nutshell. This is a YouTube channel, so definitely check it out. It's Heroes, Horrors, and Cats. Really good stuff. And they're from Las Vegas, Nevada, so hopefully they're Raider fans. But big shout out to you guys over there. Check out their YouTube channel, subscribe their YouTube channel. So thank you so much for supporting the show. As always, we got to support the network too. Check out all the shows in the network. Strange Society Network. Really good stuff if you're looking for a good podcast. Horror, I'll throw it on over to you, then you could throw it to who you want.
All right. Well, now that we're completely depressed and everything, I guess we will do the shout outs. And I guess mine is going to go to at Killer Shorts. And that is, of course, on Twitter. They right now just started their second annual short screenplay contest, a huge contest they did last year. They had over 700 entries. They're doing it again this year. I just got a chance to interview Allison Parker, who is the director of the competition, and we have that on the site. So definitely check that out. If you're a young screenwriter out there, this might be for you. They got some great prizes. They have some great talent that will be reading the winning screenplays, including the likes of Barbara Crampton and Joe Bob, and a whole list of them. There's some money prizes, and everything's there in the interview. If not, just head over to @KillerShorts on Twitter and check them out, and spread the horror there. Share that contest. If you know somebody who's a screenwriter, young, old, been doing it for a long time, whatever. Remember, this is short. It's not a huge movie here. Send that off to them. Let them know about it. Give them a chance to enter. The contest goes until December, so you got plenty of time to enter. And if you can't find that, you're a little confused, of course, hit me up and I will point you in the right direction. But they get my shout out this week, and I guess we'll go back to Chris.
Nobody. Yeah, this is a one-man show here. I don't need those people out there. Just me. No. I don't have anybody to shout out. So come on, guys, find me on Twitter, DM me. People say don't DM me. Please DM me. Find me on Instagram. I would love to meet you. Every time I get a message on my DM, it's Ken. Who cares? I would love to meet you guys. You're probably thinking, oh, he doesn't want to hear from me. I do. I'm retired. I stay here all day. I watch horror movies and I wait for you to contact me. So next week, I better have a lot of shout outs. So there.
Yeah, you got. All right, we'll have a contest. You can who gave you the creepiest DM. So yeah, let's move on over to promotehorror.com. See what's going on over there.
Oh man, I get to follow all this craziness and depression and so forth. Um, all right, so this week I'm not talking about a movie that has been already remade. We're going to play the game of let's remake a movie. And we don't really have to go too deep into this one, but I hinted at the top as I usually try to do. And we are going to be talking about People Under the Stairs, 1991, done by Wes Craven. So again, I find all these movies that really are done by some top name directors here, and that's a credit to them, but also kind of proves why in the hell are we making this, because they're fine movies. But anyway, this one almost got remade. It was up against The Last House on the Left when they were deciding to do the remake, which one they were going to do, and I guess Last House on the Left won, and I'm sure we'll talk about that one day, but not today. Some time passed after that movie went on, and I don't know how well it did, but then there was talk that people wanted to do, of course, People Under the Stairs. But interestingly enough, Wes Craven didn't want to actually was involved. He didn't want to make it a movie. He actually was thinking about doing a TV series for Sci-Fi based on this. I think that would have been pretty cool. It could have been very interesting, and I'm all for if you want to take a movie and kind of instead doing a remake. Do a TV series. You can kind of expand the universe and kind of gives you some wiggle room there. That would have been interesting, but that never happened. So because that never happened, and unfortunately, one of the reasons it didn't is because Wes passed away, unfortunately. But because there wasn't a remake, we're here and we're talking about possibly remaking this. For those who haven't seen it, just a quick plot of things here. Basically, you have two adults decide they want to rob this house. Of course, they picked the wrong house. This little kid, a young boy, goes with them. He wants to prove his worth and goes with them. They get in the house but can't get out. Pretty scary in itself, and come across all kinds of scary stuff in the house, some weird stuff, people die, and that's the basics of it. Of course, Wes Craven kind of likes this theme of the houses and so forth, and apparently he got this one based off of true story. I guess some burglars went into a house and burglarized it, and when the cops showed up afterwards, found out that the burglars had escaped, but the family that was there was holding their kids hostage. Basically, they had some kids locked up there and didn't let them go out into the sun, which we kind of see that happens in this movie as well. So that's kind of interesting, and I'm sure Chris could tell us that happens all the time, and we've seen some really horrific stories of that happening. So you have the major characters in this movie. Obviously, the kid who's named Fool. Love the name. Definitely one of the best names in a horror movie, for as far as I'm concerned. You have Alice, is the little girl that he befriends in the house. Of course, you have, interestingly enough, and I didn't really realize it, the brother, sister, / mom, dad in this movie, whatever you want to call them, actually didn't really have a name. They were just man and woman, which I didn't realize, but I guess they are. But I guess if you do some digging, you can kind of piece together at least one of their names. And then there's Roach, who is one of the people under the stairs. So basically, the main reason I bring this up is meant not to maybe go so much in depth about remaking this movie, but just thinking that this might be the right time and place for a remake of this movie. Obviously, for those who have seen it, this is a very underrated horror movie, but it really brings upon the statement of society that we're in right now and back then at the time. There's race in this movie, the battle of poverty in this movie. So a lot of the issues that are out there for all of us to see right now, like just turn on TV, you'll see it, turn on Twitter, you'll see it. This movie talks about, hits on it. So, it might be a risky move to make. It may take a risky director, filmmaker to make. You could push the bounds of how far you want to touch on the race in this movie. But you could do it. This movie is a terrific horror movie if you want it to remake and really stress this issue that is going on in society now. And kind of sad that it was going on back then too. This is 1991 when this was done. Um, but I think that if filmmakers are out there and thinking about it, instead of just picking the hot topic, or let's do another Scream or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever, and you want to do something and make a political statement, or make a statement like some people have tried to do recently, and do it with a remake. Here's that film to do it with. Um, so I thought, this was it does have its horror elements there, and of course you can still drag that into the equation, go with that. The people under the stairs, that alone is scary in itself. But definitely, I think that you have so much that you can do. You can even change the gender roles here, and include women. We've talked about it before. Switch that around, so you can do race, you can do women. There's just so much that you can do, and still hit on all the political points, and update it. Bring it maybe into more of even where we are now. Even though it's the same theme, still goes on. As far as maybe some things that we could change in the movie itself, I would be interested maybe in a little bit more of the brother sister slash mom dad. I think you could open up the movie. This movie kind of, you learn a lot about them as the movie goes on, but I think maybe you could throw in an opening scene there, kind of dive a little bit into where they came from, how they ended up here. Maybe an example of them taking advantage of somebody early in the film, and of course you can maybe twist it and bring that in towards the end if you want. But I wouldn't mind a little bit more of them centered on them, not just throwing in the details as the movie goes on. It's hard to say, but maybe a little bit less a fool. The movie does center a lot on him, and him trying to get out of this house, but maybe a little bit less on him. And I know, of course, that you have to balance what you're trying to say with the statements of race and society in the movie. But it would have been interesting to dive a little bit deeper into the people under the stairs. You see them under there, you kind of get the concept of where they came from and so forth. And obviously you get introduced to Roach and a little bit there, but maybe a little bit more focused on that. I mean, it is called People Under the Stairs. There's a lot of inference there, but there's not a lot of focus on them. So maybe you have a character there. You could do it with Roach, or maybe you do another character there, where you kind of piece his story in a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more less fool, or maybe bring him into the equation a little bit stronger, as opposed to just opening doors and helping him escape throughout the movie. So those are just a few tidbits of how to maybe change the story. But I think the real thing in here is bringing this movie and using this movie to really make a statement of where we are now, and of course do it with a horror movie. Kind of like The Tent is going to talk about some other issue. I'm not going to spoil what we're going to talk about soon, but another issue, but using a horror movie to do it. So there's different ways that we can use horror here, good, bad, and however you feel about it. So I think I'm going to throw it over to Muse and let her start, and you can kind of touch on how you'd want to remake this movie, or just if it should be done, or just your thoughts in general.
I am so bad at this because I have like a natural, you know, I don't know, gag reflex when it comes to remakes. I was like, I don't need, there are some ones out there that have been done that are really, really, really good. But I'm just like, I really honestly, I loved this film. I agree with you. It's completely underrated. But this is just one of those films. I don't know. It would definitely be a challenge to remake. Definitely a lot of riskiness involved there as far as, how far you want to take everything and things of that nature. But I don't know. I liked this movie as it is. I don't know. I'm one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it types. So, I liked this one, and you're trying to follow Wes Craven's footsteps. I mean, oh man, that's a tough act to follow. And so, I mean, I know I'm lacking points on creativity here. I mean, it's like I'm losing this game. But I honestly, I like it the way it is. I really wouldn't change anything, honestly. I don't know. I love this movie, and I wish it was talked about more. So I'm glad you brought it up. It was a great movie to revisit. It makes me want to go watch it now, because I haven't seen it in quite a while. definitely one I want to check back out because I remember, especially the character of Roach. I loved his character and just kind of like the development of how you got to learn about how these kids got, abducted and put underneath the stairs and they're trying to escape. And it's just a fantastic movie. So I'm going to throw it to Chris, and I'm going to, hopefully he does better job than I did here because I'm 0 points. I'm 0 for 0 here. 0-1.
It's sacrilege to criticize Wes Craven, but this should have been a really good movie. And I don't want to criticize Wes Craven because a lot goes into the final product of a movie. And I've had directors say, that wasn't my movie. What comes out. Should have been scarier. A lot was suggested that never really filled the bill. There were social statements made that you were yawning at. It could have been done a lot better. I think if done today, I'm not big on social statements. I don't care. I've heard it all. Yeah, I know. I'm a whatever. Go ahead, call me names, whatever. But I tell you, this movie needed a bite. This movie needed this went halfway. It needed to go all the way. Needed more gore. It needed maybe instead of these two lunatic people running the house, maybe the final reveal could have been they're not the only lunatics in the house. I don't know, but make it wilder, make it louder. And that's my suggestion. I hate to criticize Wes Craven. This was a dud. It should not have been, whether it's Wes Craven's fault or someone else's fault, probably both. But the plot here could have been biting, and it could have been one that you're going to really think about later. And the one from 3 decades ago just didn't do it.
It's okay every now and then for us to disagree on a movie, and I'm glad that you do. I saw this movie way back when it came out. I think I actually saw it in the theaters. What year did it come out? 91.
91.
Yeah, so I mean, I was only, God, I must have been 11, 12 years old. But I vaguely remember it, and I didn't go back and watch it. However, I would be like all aboard on like a Jordan Peele type if he took this and did a series on this. And he maybe addressed like the people under the stairs and maybe different circumstances of hauntings in different homes, and maybe focused on some of these low income houses and stuff like that. Because, okay, so I work in New York City. I've looked at a lot of property where we had to buy and gentrify and stuff like that. And I've seen some scary shit in some beautiful old townhomes, right? And it's too bad Casey's not on because she would vouch for this. But there's some weird stuff out there that, it's just weird. But you could do something with this. And all these poor souls, these poor people that just have given up on life, you could do something really cool with that and make it like, very spooky and whatnot, and why there it is what it is. But there's so many avenues you could go, and you could really tell this story through a series. But I could see somebody like the Keenan and Peele, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, Peele, type thing going on, because he's doing such a good job with the Twilight Zone. Why not take something that can be made from a headlining movie into a series that has to do, and I'm not saying just because he's black or anything he has to do this. Anybody could do it, but I just think that would be really cool to see, and you can focus on something in New York City with all these different townhomes and something like that. And I see a lot of crime. I see it every day. I'm like, it's weird, especially right now with COVID. Right now, nobody's getting arrested in New York City, so people are doing whatever they want to do. But anyway, so yeah, I could see something like that. I would be all aboard for like a series, and like give it to Netflix or something like that, and let them run with it. So what's going on in the news world, man? Or did you have would you rewrite it yourself, or what would you do?
Like I said, I think the most important thing to do here is that it's such a thing now to make statements with your movies. There's lots going on, even short films going on now these days, whether it's something like we talk about women in horror, something that we're going to talk about now with the tent, which has obviously been done a couple of times now. So why not? Race is an issue now. Poverty is an issue now. It's always an issue. But since it's such at the forefront now, like it's never been since for a long time, why not now? You can do it. And I think Jordan Peele is a great example of someone who can do it, but I'm sure there's several people who do it. And doing a TV series is perfect because, you can focus on the people under the stairs, do different races and different struggles there. So that all works. So it's not about just doing it for a remake stand. It's about the timing here, and this is a good example of a movie that could be used for a greater good here. So that's basically my point with this one here. As far as the news, let's make this real quick here. And I'll start with Shudder. Shudder highlights for August include Random Acts of Violence, The Shed. Obviously, Joe Bob is returning with a special sleepover episode, and La Lorena, which I'm probably saying wrong. Shudder is also going to be coming for our listeners in Australia and New Zealand, if they still exist. We know Chris blew them up a couple of times. But Shudder will be heading your way, so I'll get ready for that. We spoke about Train to Busan earlier. That for our Canadian listeners, see, I'm going all around the world now. Reminder that will be out on August 7th. For us here in the US, we are going to be pushed back to the 21st. Don't know if that's going to be on demand or when, for us that are stuck at home, going to get to see that, but I guess it's going to be in theaters the 21st. Let's see here. For me, who also stuck at home, Halloween Horror Nights has been canceled here down in Florida. Sucks. It's on their 30th year, canceled, keeping me at home even further. Speaking of being at home, you can play video games like Resident Evil 8, which will be coming in the future. But that trailer should be out next month. Continuing at home theme, The Witcher, we're still waiting for that to return. They will have a prequel series that's been announced, and it'll be The Witcher Blood Origin. That is something that Netflix is going to be working on. Arrow Video Fright Fest has going to be going virtual this year, and they have announced their movies. So take a look at that. They always have some of the best horror movies of the year going on. Obviously, be a little bit different this year, going virtual. Shark Week, always a favorite for me. That the reminder that returns August 9th. Jaws is always looking for me. The writer director of Scare Package, of course, I recommend that one highly on Shudder. Definitely need to see that one. He is coming out with another film, Pale Door, and that will be out on the 21st as well. And that'll be in theaters and on demand. And just some quick DVDs of note that are coming out in August. Satan's Slaves, that'll be on the 4th. Recommend that one. Cursed Films on the 18th. The Barge People on the 18th. The Wretched, which we've spoken about several times, on the 11th. Monstrous on the 11th. Open 24 Hours, which I heard is good, but I don't know. That'll be out on the 18th. And Prevenge, also out on the 18th. And I will end this with my recommendation, which is on Shudder right now, is The Pool. And the only thing I'll say about that is we kind of touched on depressing things, so I'll wrap it up with a depressing thing. If you like dogs and really are not in the mood to see what happens to a dog in this movie, just don't watch it. Otherwise, watch the movie.
Yeah, I'm out. Thanks for the heads up. I'm out. But I know somebody that's gonna hopefully, who always makes me laugh, and we'll see what he's got in store for us today. So let's get right on into the creature feature of the week with Chris, the Creature ZC.
There's a creature in this movie. This is a weird movie, especially to review. And full confession, I'm a little bit biased when I talk about this movie, and I can't tell you why yet. I'm hoping this will come out in our interview in about 10 minutes from now. But you're going to see basically a two-man show when we talk about The Tent. It's a... actor and actress named I'm going to talk one soon. Let me get this right. Fantastic job done by Tim Kaiser, who plays David, and Lula Dahl, who plays Mary and David. And this is weird. Initially, you're going to say to yourself, this sort of looks like A Quiet Place. You couldn't be more wrong, so don't even go down that trail. Something happens. And we've seen this before, movies where something happens and it's really not important what happens. The only thing that matters is it has happened, and society as we know it is gone. Living in the house, the city, whatever has gotten rid of tons of people, it's happened, whether it's nuclear war, whether it's a zombie outbreak, whether it's a plague, whether it's a Florida COVID thing. If something has indeed happened, and our protagonist, David, is now in the wilderness surviving. He's a sort of a hobby survivalist in his real life, so we think. He did a few videos a few years ago on how to survive in the wilderness. You too can do it, and but something has happened. We get vague radio transmissions that emergency, don't let anybody in. If someone comes to you, listen to these radio transmissions closely. Make sure you know who they are, and they might not be that person. And we're not really listening to them that closely because we assume we're going to find out what's going on, and we do. And so he is surviving in a tent in the wilderness, which is kind of weird because it's not a bunker. It's not a house with cement walls. It's not a cabin with bolts on the door. You would think if somebody or something is going to get in, it's just going to tear the tent away. And you're wondering why this tent thing can be such a safe haven. He goes out to check the traps. Part of surviving, he sets traps, little traps, big traps. He's got to eat. And he gets caught in one of his traps. Bound to happen. He's going to die, except another survivor comes through the woods, and he gets help from her. It's a girl. It's I don't know, what she may be, 25 years old, young lady, I should say. Mary, Lula Dow, does a wonderful job. Gets him out of the trap, hauls him back to the tent, and he's like, okay, thanks, goodbye. And she's like, what, you're not going to let me in? Don't leave me out here alone. And he says, no, I appreciate it, but two of us together won't work. That's not how you survive. And if I'm in here and you're in here, they're going to know we're both in here, and we're putting both each other in danger. And you're thinking, of what? And she said, oh, come on. And she eventually gets into the tent. He said, okay. She helps him clean off his leg, bandage it. And he's like, okay, tomorrow morning you have to go. And she starts talking to him. And she brings up a good point. And then you think you know where this movie's going. It isn't, but you think you do. He is science. He is technical. She is human. Whatever has happened, he has lost his humanity, but he has a sense on how to survive. She is the human. You got to talk to people. It's no good to be alone. You got to open up. How do you feel? You got to let me help you. You can't just do this alone. And he's like, no, it's a different world now. And the two of them spar. He at times warms up to her, but catches himself doing it. And whatever's going on outside, he always convinces himself they can't do it together. They can't survive together. She needs to go on. She reminds him, you got a real bad leg. I might have bandaged it, but you're not going to survive on your own. And even if you do survive, you survive as what? Because if you're human, at least if you do die, you die the best you can be. And that's sort of contrary to, well, why die at all if we can stay alive? And then there goes the question. Are you going to lose your humanity, or are you going to survive? And are the two mutually exclusive? Now, it's an easy question for us to ask, but you throw it into a world where something has happened. Whatever yesterday was, it's not today. And David and Mary are playing off each other really, really well. And eventually the conversation becomes a little bit more ominous, where there are indications that Mary is somebody more important than just a lone survivor coming through the woods. She insinuates to David that, have I seen you someplace before? And he actually has said to her, have I seen you someplace? You know, in a horror movie, the answer is yes, you have. And you know, you're going to find out. But I got to tell you, we're going to talk in a second to the people that made this movie. And I want to hold off on saying a whole bunch about what's coming up because there's a point in the movie, and it's different for all of us. Some might be halfway through, some might be 3/4 of the way through, some might be 5 minutes before the ending, but you're going to realize what's going on. And you're going to have a different reaction depending on your own experiences. Uh, I hate to say it, a lot of people are going to see this movie and say, oh, yeah. A lot of people are going to say, wow, they did a good job with imagery and metaphor. Well, those people who say you did a good job with imagery and metaphor to present a story, and it's not metaphor, it's not imagery. David, well, we'll talk more in a moment, I think. But I tell you, and Lori talked about emotional movies a little while ago, and I tell you, I was texting, Ken and Muse and Casey and Haro. I had tears in my eyes, and you'll find out why in a second. But there is a scene in the movie where David and Mary have a conversation, and it's not in the tent; it's in another setting. And I tell you, it is something that is quite moving, and it's a conversation that millions of people have had, and there's no easy way to do it. And but anyway, I could go on. I'm tearing up again, but the tent. A number of you people who watch this movie are going to say, "Oh yeah, yep, absolutely," and that's all I'll say.
Well, with that being said, we're going to welcome to our show Tim Kaiser and Robert Skates in a second here. But Chris, just overall, thank you so much for just an awesome review. I know that you have more to say on it and how this movie personally hit you. And I can't wait to hear that. And I think maybe you can share that with Robert and Tim. And we'll wait for Kyle to jump on with us. But Robert and Tim, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
Great.
Welcome to
How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to Where the Scary Things Are. I'm Monster Mash Ken. We've got my host Chris and Horo and Muse. You can't see Muse on the screen, but she's there. And we are very excited to jump in to the movie with you. And since Kyle, we'll see if he jumps on or not. He's got a few more minutes, a little early. Robert, I'll start with you. Cinematography, right?
Yeah.
Beautifully shot. I was just amazed on just how well done this movie was. How did you get involved with the film?
I think it was Kyle who saw some of my work at the WDIV Film Challenge Awards. He won Best Film in 2015. I shot a film that won Best Film the next year. So I think he was in attendance for that, saw my work. Something he saw that, must have rang true with him. It was a film all set in the woods. So I think he knew the tent was going to be mostly in the woods. So that was, I think, similar to, what he was looking for, and gave me a call, told me about his project and a little bit about himself. And that's kind of how we got going.
Where did you guys shoot?
I think the location was just north of the Romeo airfield or airstrip. So it's kind of up in that area.
I'm sorry, where is that? I'm not familiar.
It's Romeo, Michigan. So that would be about, I don't know, about an hour north and slightly east of downtown Detroit.
Right on. So our very own Muse, she's that's her stomping ground. She's in Michigan. So we're all spread out throughout the Eastern Seaboard here. Real quick, Kyle, thank you for joining us. You didn't miss anything. We were just getting kind of started here. Kyle, great job with the movie. Loved the movie. And Tim just gave an awesome performance as well as Lulu, who we saw most in the film. Tim, I'm sorry, Kyle. Let's talk about the beginning of the beginning of all this. Why did you decide to make this film?
Yeah, I think the decision to make this film really just came from just an evolution of for one, wanting to kind of tell somewhat of a horror story, and then also to just kind of take a real thing and tell it in a very kind of abstract kind of way. And the film, and Robert could attest to this because he was one of the first people that I met with as far as the production end of things. Well, really pre-production. The film evolved quite a bit as we progressed through the production on it. And so I was just very open to just seeing kind of where it would go. And it really turned into something that I'm so proud of.
Well, you should be, because it was a really, really good film. It was I think an hour and a half long, but it really just flowed right through. And a lot of that had to do with the acting of Tim. So Tim, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing really well. Am I on video or just audio?
I just see the audio. If you want to click the little camera button there, that's cool too. It's all good. But yeah, I really enjoyed.
I'm clicking, but I can't seem to get it.
That's okay. Let's see if I can help you out here.
Let's see.
There you go. Really enjoyed your performance. I thought that you gave a really powerful. You told the story pretty much. There you are. There's Tim.
Hey, I'm here.
I don't recognize you without the beard. Maybe Robert may have stolen that beard from you. I don't know.
Right. Before you continue, I haven't seen Rob in a while, and yes, he must have stole the beard. He looks great. Rob, it looks good.
Yeah, we have traded facial hair.
Yeah, Horo and I might have beaten Horo out with my COVID beard. I don't know, but the hair is definitely there.
Cool.
But yeah, Tim, just well done, performance-wise. Very gripping, very powerful, very powerful. What made you take this role?
I worked with Kyle 5 years ago, the year that he won the award in the local, as Rob mentioned, the WDIV. It's a local Channel 4 station. And he won a trip out to Sundance, which was pretty cool. But him and his writer partner at the time, they traveled to Sundance. So that was pretty cool. But I met Kyle in 2015, and we kept in touch. I started growing a relationship. And I worked on another film that he did. It wasn't a feature, though. Nice little part. And then he got with me 3 years ago, the spring of 2017, and said that he wanted to do his first feature film and wanted to involve me. And he had this idea for a story. And so I just, we met a couple of times, and I was in the process of filming another thing up in Traverse City. So I had kind of grown the beard out to play a character. And he liked the look, and we started collaborating on the script and some ideas. I offered some thoughts of it. The first time I did read his first script, though, I was in Traverse City on a break from filming that night, and man, it just knocked me over. I cried. I thought, wow, this is going to be this. If it's done right, it's really going to be good. So
yeah, I mean, you definitely nailed the role. Like I said, it was very powerful, and you had a lot of telling the story. Lulu really helped you out as well, because you guys shared a lot of the screen together. I'm going to come back around towards the end, so I'm going to hand it off to one of my other hosts. Muse, we're going to go with you first, so go ahead and chime on in.
Okay, these questions can apply. I'm going to start with Kyle. So you guys are you guys all still in Michigan, or are you guys in different locations now?
We're still all in Michigan, as far as I know. I think almost everybody that worked on the movie is still in Michigan, and that was huge, just to get a bunch of Michigan talent together, because there's so much talent here. So
I am such a homer, so I am like so geeked that this was done in Michigan. So showing some of that Michigan love and flavor
Yeah.
for sure. I loved it. So I was going to ask you, just going to jump right in, and Robert, jump in as well after follow up Kyle as well, if you would like. I was going to ask, start out with Kyle and then follow up with Robert. What was the trickiest scene for you to film or write for in the film The Tent? What would you say was the most challenging?
Well, I think from a writing standpoint, I think the trickiest scene was really the whole third act of the film. It was tricky in the sense of like, okay, what are we going to do here, and how are we going to shift? I don't want to give too much away, but how are we going to shift tones in a way that feels earned or realistic? And hopefully, we pulled that off. And so I think from a writing standpoint, I think from a filming standpoint, and Rob will definitely have to chime in because he was the guy with the camera and having to do basically all the squats to get down and all that stuff. But I felt personally like the hardest scene for him, or for all of us really, was Tim being dragged through the woods. I feel like Rob was like, he's got this giant camera. He's got an assistant camera operator, and then we have our boom guy. And then Tim is got this weird vest thing so he doesn't get scraped up when he's getting dragged on his back. And we're all just moving in unison, and Tim's got to perform in the midst of that. And so I don't know. I think one of our guys shot like a behind the scenes and put it on Facebook or something a while back of like what that looked like, from their perspective. And I'm like, dude, that looks like, I don't know what it looked like, but it looked like something really weird and fascinating. And I remember watching like 3 times, like, wow, we did that. So I don't know. Rob may have something else in mind, or maybe that's the same thing. I don't know.
I think anytime you have a scene where you have everybody around you like that and you're trying to move the camera, I think it probably looks like clowns tumbling out of a clown car, from behind the scenes. But yeah, when somebody is going through something physical, as Tim was in that scene, and having to be, dragged on the ground, it's tough logistically, but it's also tough operating the camera and getting it right, because you don't want to make him do it more than he has to do it. So that's constantly in my mind. Is it good? Is it frame right? Does it look right? Let's not do this again. We don't need to beat this poor guy up any more than he's already being beat up. So that was tough. And then some of the emotional stuff in the third act also. And again, when actors have to dig deep and pull something out of themselves, as a camera operator, cinematographer, you're hoping just to get it and not require another take, because sometimes it's not possible, and you feel horrible when an actor puts themselves out there and for some reason something you did doesn't quite get it done right.
Oh, definitely. I completely understand that. So staying with, filming and things like that, were there any scenes that you had to cut out that you wished you could have left in the film, or, for whatever reason? So that could be, we'll start with Robert this time.
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes when there's a pretty big gap between the time that we filmed it and the time that I actually see it, I can do a pretty good job of forgetting a lot. so I think Kyle probably could speak to that better than I can.
Yeah, there were, I think it was less about big chunks of scenes being cut out, and it was just more kind of just little moments that were cut out just for time and kind of keeping rhythm and pacing. And it's definitely, the first part of the film is kind of a slow burn, and so there are moments where you really have to start paying attention to pacing, and you really have to start paying attention to I definitely, the translation from filming into editing can be heartbreaking at first, because you're like, that didn't turn out the way I thought it would. or really exciting because you're like thinking something maybe I don't know if that worked, and then you see it and you're like, oh my gosh, this really worked. This is great. And so I think it's that pacing. You have to put yourself in the kind of the audience standpoint of like, okay, I know that Robert broke his back basically trying to get the shot or shooting this. I remember that night we were sweating bullets because we had, lanterns lit inside of a tent on a stage, and fumes are flying and everybody's, wigging out and stuff. And Tim and Lulu are going through the ringer, but I got to cut this scene down. You got to take yourself out of that moment of being on set and really put yourself into the audience's shoes. And I really try to do a good job of making sure that pacing. So I don't think it was a particular scene necessarily that hit the floor as much as it is just little subtle moments that kind of speed up the pacing. So it wasn't too slow.
So you spoke of Lulu briefly there. So I wanted to ask, she was tremendous, starring alongside Tim. How did you come across, Lulu Doll? How did she get involved with the film? She was excellent. I related to her character so much. She uses kind of a lot of sarcasm like I do. She's got a lot of the dry humor, plays off of, David's character really well. So I was really interested before I switch over to Tim, how you got connected with her, how she got involved in the film.
Yeah, Lulu is great. Lulu brings a sense of realism that I haven't seen a whole lot of, with some of the other actors that I've worked with in the past. And so I just knew I wanted to snatch her up and put her alongside Tim. Actually, it's funny. When Tim and I worked on that first film that he had mentioned prior, she starred opposite him. So that same film, that we did get a little bit of notoriety from. Her and Tim basically two-man band in that film. And so I knew from that interaction that they would really have good chemistry. And so initially I was actually going to play the part of Lulu as a male, and it was going to be kind of a different dynamic. And then as things progressed, my wife actually suggested, we just thought about switching things up and having, a different kind of perspective. And she was like, what about a female? And I said, that'd be interesting. And then as soon as I started really thinking about it, I was like, it's gotta be Lulu. It's gotta be Lulu. And luckily she was like, I'm on board, man. Like whatever you need, I'm on board. Let's do it.
Well, it worked out beautifully. It's an excellent film, very powerful. And so I'm going to switch over to Tim really fast. I definitely had some questions for him as well. So I'm going to pose the question to Tim. What was the most physically challenging or even emotionally challenging part? If you want to go with the physical, we don't want to reveal too much throughout the movie. But what was the most challenging scene for you to perform during the filming of The Tent?
Boy, that's a good question because I've got several cool moments. The one moment that I really loved, I think as an actor, kind of silly, I always wanted to run around with a torch, a real torch. And I just going back in my mind as a kid growing up, I guess the acting thing was always in me. So make believe and a torch, that was really cool stuff. So that was a fun scene. And I think they mentioned the dragging scene. That was another, I felt like a kid playing. And that was, it was just a cool scene. And towards the third act of the movie, there's just life experiences that I was able to pull from, and just made it turned out better than I think we all thought. And I got to salute Rob. Kyle had told me about reaching out to Rob. And he said, hey, this guy won the award. You got to see the film that he did in 2016. And I watched it. And I don't really know much about cinematography. I'm an actor. I don't really, understand a lot of the dynamics of lighting. I know what looks good, but I don't know how to get there, And I never have worked with being an independent film actor. There's been good cinematographers, but I knew I saw Rob's film that he did, and I go, wow, this guy's really, really good. So when we went to our first meeting together, Kyle brought us all together, the cast and crew. I was really like, oh no, I gotta work, I gotta act in front of this guy. This guy's really good. And then we get to set and he's got a guy pulling focus for him or you know, an assistant. He had two different people that he worked with. And I was intimidated. He's real quiet. He's real meticulous. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to work. And finally, I think his demeanor just being so almost quiet, it just mellowed me out. And I just fell in love with the guy. He's just really a talented guy. Got to know him a little bit, and just a very, very talented guy. I'm just so tickled that his, you know, people are taking notice of what he did in the tent.
Well, it shows in the film. Everything is fantastic. So I love David's character throughout the film and his interaction with Lulu. So how much alike are you to the character David? How much different is Tim Kaiser to the character of David?
Well,
Do you
let's
relate
see,
to him?
I really do. I mean, there's some things that I had his backstory that he had kind of a similar background, a German background, maybe had the same type of a German father that I had, German grandparents. You know, I just imagined a lot of things about him. And the one thing that I do kind of relate to is that I love going out to breakfast and being by myself. I don't want to be bugged by people.
Right.
So I could kind of the you know, hiding in the woods alone. I could really I could get into that. Funny thing is though, I don't like being maybe out in the woods alone, but
Right.
being alone I could relate to. So that was cool.
You know, it was interesting because when I was watching the film, David and Mary's characters, I was just like, I could relate to both of them so well, just two different sides of my personality. So I really, really got into the characters and loved them. I thought they were so well written and so well performed by both of you.
Oh,
So I
thank
just
you.
want to, I definitely enjoy the film, and I love that you're all from Michigan. And I'm like, yes, Michigan.
Yes.
So
Now, where did you grow up in Michigan?
I grew up in Belleville, Michigan, which is where
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
now. Yep. That's
Okay.
where I reside now. I'm about, I'd say about 10 minutes or so from Ann Arbor and, or Ypsilanti, you know, kind of somewhere around in the middle there. And,
Good.
so yeah, I'm so excited, and I'm just,
That's
I love you
neat.
guys, and it was a great movie.
Good.
Great
Thank
movie.
you.
I'm gonna pass it over to, I think I'm gonna pass it over to Omar, over there.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, guys, and terrific movie. I guess I'm going to start with Kyle, and kind of something that I mentioned in our previous segment before you guys came on is using horror to get a message across. You know, we can use horror to talk about things going on in the world left and right. So you chose horror to get kind of a message, a theme going that's in the third act of this movie. Why horror? Why not use, you know, you could have gone straight forward, or you could have used a different genre?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think some of the best message movies I've ever seen, and I know some of the more drama fans that may be checking this out will be bummed to hear me say this, but I think some of the most touching messages and most relatable messages I've ever seen have been in horror films. I mean, you know, what better to bring people together than a moment where you think maybe I'm going to die, or maybe you know, a loved one is going to be hunted, or you know, what have you. So you know, I've seen some really just smart messages displayed in some horror movies, specifically as of late. You know, a movie like It Follows, one of my favorite movies I've seen in the last probably decade. There's a message there, you know, may not be one that people want to hear, but there's a message there. Or Get Out, you know, that there's a message there too. So, you know, I love message movies, you know, and I feel like, you know, those are two huge movies that did really well, and they're horror movies. So I thought, you know, for one, I'm a huge fan of the genre, and for two, you know, it's I've just seen it done so well, probably the best in a lot of horror movies.
I totally agree, and I'm, you know, I'm kind of a guy who generally enjoys blood and guts and the straightforward horror. But you know, every once in a while, when yeah, just a little bit. But every once in a while, when a film like this comes around, you know, it obviously takes you off guard, because I definitely was sitting there. You know, you introduce some creatures or monster and so forth, and I'm like, okay, you know, when's that going to come out and start ripping people apart? And then that's just not the total case here. So definitely a fantastic job. You kind of mentioned other movies. You guys are just trying to depress me because I saw this one and I also saw The Relic. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet. And
I've
you
heard about
basically okay, you're covering the same ground here. You're killing me because it's a lot of emotion to come out here. So definitely, I definitely think if you guys haven't seen that, definitely check that out. It kind of done different way, but goes in the same kind of area. So it's just another horror movie using a message, and it's perfectly done. So it's kind of following that. How did you go about trying to balance the horror with the message that you're trying to portray? Obviously, you kind of try to hide it to the end, but obviously, whenever you do that, you have a balancing act throughout the movie because you still want to give hints of what's going on. So how did you challenge that going through the entire shoot?
Well, I think it's putting the characters in a very kind of obscure situation and putting them in a situation that is kind of horror related. Being in a tent and supposedly surrounded by these creatures. I think that's horror in and of itself. So it's circumstantial. A movie that I obviously you may have heard of. It's called Jaws. It does it so well. It takes this scenario where these guys are hunting a shark, right? That's the movie. That's the scenario they're put in. And really at its heart, it's about these three characters. And so we just develop and see these layers kind of stripped away and bared for everyone to see as they're in this horror type circumstance. And I think that is, I'm not trying to say the tent is Jaws by any means, but I'm just saying that that's, I think, the balancing act that I definitely tried to plug into, which was, hey, this is a story about David and Mary and the layers that are being stripped away from them as they live in this circumstance. And so, allowing that circumstance to just be what it is, it's where they're at, what they're in, and then allowing them to really just develop as characters.
Awesome. Yeah, Jaws is another great example because you don't really see the shark that much until the last act, and then that's when he comes, and obviously that's what everybody's afraid of.
Yeah.
I'll jump over to Robert. Kind of touch on the creatures and the monster. The way you shot the scenes of the creature and the monster, did you ever feel like you had to be the creature and the monster as you were shooting that?
A little bit, particularly for some of their POV things, but mostly the approach to it was all handheld. The film, at least I think 90% of it, and the trick was to sort of give that a different feel than the other parts of the film. And even within a scene, if something emotional would happen, the camera would become more still in that moment. So, yeah, and that in a way is me as the camera operator reacting to what's happening. Because you might be moving around thinking, and somebody says something important, and we all listen. We usually stop and listen. So I was trying to make the camera more still, on certain lines at certain moments. But yeah, I try to be the monster as much as I can, whenever that is. But usually monsters aren't like 5'4" like I am, so it makes that kind of difficult too. So.
I when you knew you were coming on, I kind of remember those shots. I'm kind of thinking, from that kind of point of view, it's like, how much do you put into it? I'm shooting, or how much do you put in that I'm basically the creature here? So I just thought it was an interesting way, and obviously the way some of the scenes changed when you're seeing the viewpoint of the monster.
Yeah, I mean, you think about those things, and it's more about what is the audience going to think when they see this, and what is their perception going to be, and what are we trying to telegraph about that. And ultimately, what is the monster too? That's the other part of it. So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of thinking that goes into it. But then you're in the woods and you're cold or you're hot and you're tired, and that all plays into it too. So
awesome. And okay, Tim, great job, excellent job. You got, if I understood correctly, you had some experience already working with Lulu. Did that if I heard that correctly, did that help in your time with her on set and pulling this off?
Yeah, in fact, so when I met first with Kyle, he kind of talked this through, that this is going to be like, the older guy, younger guy. And I was all for that. I thought, in fact, when I read the script the first time, it had a guy in it. And then he had said, just before, this is going on for weeks, because we shot like, 3 months later after the script was written. But as we're progressing through it, he says, you know, his wife, Ginger, said, you know, I got an idea. She's got an idea. And we're thinking of casting Lulu. And I just, man, I lit up because Lulu and I felt this chemistry when I did the short film, The Eulogy, by the way. It's online if you want to look it up. I think it's 15 minutes, Kyle, something like that. And anyways, I was really excited to work with Lulu. I felt a chemistry when I first worked with her, and I thought, man, this would be so cool to work with her again. And yeah, so I just welcomed it. And she was just a great scene partner to share quite a bit of the film with. So it's kind of a unique situation that once in a lifetime for me.
Awesome. I guess my last question for you is, the end of the movie is obviously tough and very emotional. Is that the most emotional kind of role you've ever taken? Is that the toughest scene, knowing how that movie was ending and what your character ends up happening to him?
Interesting enough, when I started my acting, which was 10 years ago, I was a film extra. The end of August of 2010, I was a local film extra for Detroit 187. And I started the fall of 2010 as an extra. And in 2011, I was cast as doing a feature film the summer of 2011, my first film actually. And I was right from the get-go, there's an emotional scene in that. It seemed, for some strange reason, many of the projects that I've done had these somewhat of a dramatic scene or an emotional scene, or, you know, something of, you know, that I had to bring some emotion to. And I think it's just, I kind of am lucky in a sense to cultivate or being able to kind of hone in on that emotion. But definitely this film took me to a place that was probably I have not been into in my career yet. So you know, I've had experience doing that, but this was kind of different without giving too much away.
Definitely. And again, a great job you did. All of you did.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to throw it over to Chris.
Hey, Tim, I got my little knife. Yeah. You know, my dad had a little knife from the Korean War, which he carried. I have it now, but which he carried around with him. Tim, you had really 3 roles in this. We see you making these survivalist videos before society as we know it goes wherever. Right. And then you have a setup in which you're quite comfortable in, or at least competent in. Whatever has happened, you're in the woods and you're surviving. You're a survivor. And then, of course, I won't say too much. You have another role which is shown at the end in a couple of spliced in scenes. You do that fantastically, but it had to be almost like for at least Kyle, an air traffic controller, because Lulu is also going to go through a few different roles, and you two have to play off each other so intricately. And was it a natural thing because of the chemistry you had, or was Kyle having to butt in and say, no, you got to remember this, this, and this? But the two of you and Lulu had to change almost simultaneously to what each other's different role was going to be.
Something different that I experienced, and I appreciate Kyle for this, and he told me right from the beginning, he goes, Tim, I really like you as an actor. I've seen some of the things that you've done. In fact, he was at The Parasital Effect. There's a film that I was a co-star in, and I brought Kyle out to see that, and it was an unusual role for me. It was another horror type thing, and I played a psychiatrist, and he liked what I did there. But he said, I'm really going to push you. I want to push you. And so I agreed, and Lulu agreed, that we started rehearsing months before we started shooting. And I think it was probably once a week for, 5-6 weeks, a couple times a week. And we just stayed with this and just really started to try to be natural, progress with it, and get comfortable with the script, get comfortable with one another. In fact, it had been at that point a couple of years since I really had seen Lulu. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, Kyle, I gotta thank you for what you put on the air. I know that wasn't easy, and I know that um, if I knew what the movie The Tent was about, I would not have watched it, given what I had been through over the past few
Mm,
years.
mm.
Um, and it struck me because um, a lot of people are going to watch this movie and at the end say, that's real clever. He sort of used metaphor and sort of used some plot devices and to sort of tell a story in a different way of something that actually happened. But from my perspective, there's no metaphor. Going, from my perspective, Lulu, what was unfolding in front of her had nothing to do with metaphor. David was literally telling her exactly what was going on as far as David went, and I knew right away watching this movie that Kyle, you probably went through something similar. This could not have been easy for you. I mean, to make this movie, that the story you tell is not only a horror movie, but a horror movie times 10, and a horror movie that can perhaps be a guide and a lesson in something that there's no good news in, except for the fact that we emerge from it some way. And I think Lulu had it right. You emerge as hopefully a human being, the best of who we are, as opposed to, well, I don't want to say too much, but this had to be a gut wrenchingly emotional movie for you to make, Kyle.
Yeah, you expertly jumped around the ending there. I think that's the best I have seen somebody jump around it without saying anything.
Don't feed into his ego. His head's gonna get bigger, and the headphones are gonna pop off. So tone it down enough. It was okay. I'm just kidding.
I was getting nervous there. I was like, all right. No, that, yeah, it was incredibly emotional. I think also cathartic. I mean, it's a situation where you want to be real, and I've always tried to be as real as I can when it comes to the filmmaking. I don't know how to not be. I guess the measure of success that I pull it off with is for the audience to decide, of course, but I've always tried to be realistic, and infuse some sort of personal attachment into the story. And so I think with The Tent, it was obviously, if you've seen it, probably my most personal film. And I think it just made it perfect for a debut in the realm of a feature. And yeah, I would say there are some moments that are in the film at the kind of towards the end that were very challenging to film and to kind of direct him and Lulu and Robert, whether he knew it or not, really kind of brought me at ease because I knew I didn't really have to. It was challenging to get into the headspace of what was unfolding in front of me and kind of seeing it. And Tim and I had many discussions about it, but then when it came to filming it, I definitely I was probably a lot more high strung than usual because it was just, it echoed so many similar things that I had experienced. So yeah, it was great to have somebody like Robert to lean on, and Tim, just really, he embodied this character in a way that kind of shook me because I'm writing this stuff and I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen, and then I see him do it and I'm like kind of emotionally wrecked, and you almost have to push it down because you got a job to do. You're running a set. And so yeah, it's very tough to talk about without saying too much, but I think the best way I can say it is, had I not had such a great team behind me, it would have been a train wreck for sure.
Yeah, at risk of actually spoiling anything, I'm not going to do it. Uh, but Robert, great job because you look at the tent and you look at this movie and you think, oh, that was in the woods. He did a great job. You could practically smell the forestry. You could practically hear the bugs. But you also forget there was another element to this movie that was very sterile by design for a reason. And you had to almost have two different formulas for filming this movie. And one was in the woods, most of it was, but some of it was that you all the way, or did they have someone else come in to film those other scenes?
There was a second unit cinematographer, Alex
Oh.
Gasparetto, who came in for some of the flashbacks that you see, and some other things. But with what I did, there was a different style and a different thought in some of the places that we were relative to what was happening. It called for a different kind of feel. And I'm glad that I didn't do the flashbacks, because those should have had a different feel. And Alex came in, and I know he had the opportunity to see what I shot. But he also added his own ideas to it, which is fantastic, because he's a good cinematographer in his own right. But the thing I want to mention, sort of about working on the film and the team and everything else, we probably shot 10 to 12 hours a day for 14 days. So you add up those hours, and then you add up all the meetings that we had ahead of that. And the time that you spend with the crew far eclipses the amount of time you spend watching the movie or doing something like this. So my rule is, and I turn down more work than I accept, is I have to work with people who I would have to my house for dinner. It has to be people that I respect and people who are a joy to be with, because you're going to be with these people more than you're going to be with your family. And I have to say that working on the tent with Tim and Kyle and the rest of the cast and crew is one of the best experiences I've had. And that's what I look for, honestly. And that's why I say no to a lot of things, because it's at this point, if I'm going to be miserable and work with people I don't like, I'd rather sit on my deck and drink coffee and do something else, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, very good. I'm going to hand it back to Ken, because like I said, I could go on, and all I would do was give spoilers away. So back to Ken.
Well, first and foremost, Robert, Tim, and Kyle, you guys did such a great job. I can't reiterate enough. I'm watching the film. One thing I would like to ask about is the sound, right? And the sound is its own character, because Tim and Lulu, did you hear that? Did you hear like that the screeching or the creatures? And Tim, I guess this is more for you. How did you respond to those, like, as we're filming? Because I know it's different from us viewing it as viewers, but when you're acting, are you hearing this? Is there something in the background, or is it just you playing?
Yeah, it just was, from my recollection, and we filmed it 3 years ago now, and
Oh, wow.
3 and 2 years ago, we did some reshoots. But for the most part, it was just Kyle setting up the scene and just talking it through. And Kyle helped me out here. I don't think we had too much sound effect, did we, on set?
We had, we did, I think when we were shooting on the stage for the
We did, yeah.
We had a couple sound effects, which actually my sound guy in post was like, why did you do that? Making my job harder. But yeah, we did have a couple moments to just kind of help the actors out.
And one of my favorite scenes was actually more in the beginning of the film, Tim, was one of my fears is, like, if and it's kind of plays on to what happened to you, is if I go out into the beach and a crab bites my ankle, what is my reaction going to be? In your case, you step into a bear trap. And the way that you reacted and the pain, it was like you played that so well, because that would be my, like, it hurts, but I'm, it's like, So I just got to commend you on that. Well done. Job well done.
That goes back to my childhood again, playing the fun acting things that we would do as kids, just being shot. Anyways, cool stuff. Thanks.
Yeah, no, but well done. And before we pass it on to our next little quick segment here, I got to ask you, Tim. I know you kind of touched on this really quickly, but I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you got into acting at a later age. What took you so long? Because if I'm watching this film, and forgive me, this is the first film that I saw of yours, I would guess that you've been acting for a very long time. But it sounds like you started at a later age. Sorry.
I did. I always wanted to be maybe a singer, songwriter. I was a guitar player. I did do a couple of albums when I was really in my youth. I'm in my 60s, so I was in my 20s at the time. And then kind of drifted from things. At around age 28 and 30, I was cast for a church, big, huge, ahead of its time, ahead of its day. Thousands of people saw the life of David. I played King David. I had no acting experience. Guy from New York was the director, and the King David dropped out and they cast me. So I've got some pictures of me in the archives from many moons ago. We had 2 runs of it, played in front of thousands of people. My wife knew that I had the acting bug, and we're raising a family, owned a business, a photography business, school pictures, and it kept me away from acting. And then my big fork in the road, so to speak, was 10 years ago. I was semi-retired from our business. We still own it. And I was at a golf outing and in a golf league, and this guy didn't show up that I was supposed to play. And in fact, he was subbing, so he didn't even have to show up. But I thought, I wonder what happened to him. He calls me the next day and says, "Hey, I'm sorry I didn't sub. I was on set." And as soon as he said he was on set right here in Michigan, it's like I had this colliding, something happened inside of me. And I just felt that God was giving me a chance to cultivate, if I had the talent in me. I didn't know what's going on. It's been so long since, it was like about 26 years has gone by since I had acted in that last play. And or 24 years, something like that. Anyways, some time had gone by, and lo and behold, before I knew it, I got off the phone with this guy. He gave me the person's number. 2 days later, I'm on a set. Detroit 187. It's one and done. It was a 1-season deal. And I remember they're setting up the first scene. This is a true story. I'm by the elevator. I'm an extra, and you hear the director, "Okay, background talent, action." And as soon as this guy said action, I almost passed out. I mean, this guy said, come on, hang in there. So things just started. I mean, I heard, not to become real spiritual, but, I really believe God gives us all talents. We're all unique. And I felt that, gosh, was I not using something that God gave me? And I just felt that maybe his guiding, that almost like, where do you want to be in 10 years? You better stick with this. Yeah. And I thought, wait, I'm too old. I'm past all the charming stuff, and I'm an older guy. I've got grandchildren. And anyways, this is the 10-year point. And I share that story only because I'm just blown away. I would have never thought that this film, The Tent, was going to come out successfully in 2020. So far, so good.
Well, like I said, well done. And Robert, I gotta, and Tim, I look behind what's going on behind your cameras there. Robert, I see a guitar back there. I see a camera. Yeah. So Tim, you should have asked Robert to show up at the gig and play for you. Right.
I saw him. I can't believe his beard. I mean, that's better than my beard. That's amazing.
Right. And Kyle, I love the King Kong poster in the back. I'm a big poster collector myself, big King Kong fan. But we had a question the other day about with one of our other guests, and I asked him a quick question about King Kong or Godzilla, and I like Godzilla more than King Kong, but I always like seeing where you guys are inviting our YouTube watchers and listeners into your homes. I like to see what's going on behind you. So, that being said, this is my favorite part of the show. We're going to do this real quick. You guys, we watched your movie. We loved it. We were scared at points. We connected with Tim and Lulu at points. But now here's our chance to get back at you. So we do a little a trivia contest. It's called the Deathly 13. It's 13 trivia questions about horror movies. Okay, they're I don't know what they are. Chris doesn't know what they are. Horo doesn't know what they are. But Muse is going to ask them. Muse is going to ask you 13 questions, and you guys can, whoever knows it, can just jump right in and say it. You get some lifelines here, so you can ask each one of us. If neither of you know it, you can ask me, Horo, or Chris. If we know it, you can ask for multiple choice once, and you can ask to postpone it once. And is that it, Muse? I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Muse, take it away with the Deathly 13.
Okay, so you guys are going to be working as a team. So I guess you guys can all kind of like decide how you want to answer. So that definitely gives you guys a really cool advantage, a little bit of teamwork. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into the first question. And I'm going to start out with this one. David Naughton and Griffin Dunn play a pair of unfortunate backpackers in this 1981 lycanthrope classic. What movie am I speaking of?
I think Kyle knows.
Yeah, I think Kyle knows.
Got his hand up.
You got it, Robert?
Yeah,
You have it?
I'm pretty sure.
All right, you go.
American Werewolf in London.
Yes, that is correct. All right.
That's amazing.
All right. Question 2. You guys are off to a great start. A group of scientists band together to save the world from a horde of fruit in what 1988 movie?
I can only think of really one movie where there was killer fruit.
Right?
And killers in the title. Is it Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
That is correct. It is
All right.
Attack of the
Gosh, that's
Killer
good.
Tomatoes.
Just for trivia purposes, Chris was actually one of the tomatoes in that film. He played
Really?
one of the tomatoes. So,
Oh. True story, Chris.
Yeah, little behind the scenes.
No, but I was in Silence of the Lambs though, so
Oh, I might be
that
frozen.
was 2 years later.
Oh, no.
oh, okay.
Really? Wow. Neat.
But what it's worth.
That's cool.
Question 3. Muse, did we lose you? Muse is having a technical difficulty, so I'll jump in with question.
Having a moment.
Yeah. Okay. Question 3. Who played the original Frankenstein?
Oh.
Frankenstein's monster. I'm sorry, Frankenstein's monster. I should say that.
Tim, do you got it?
No, it's not Boris Karloff, is it? It is?
Is it final answer?
Yeah, I'll go with final answer.
Yes, final
The
answer.
one I know. Wow.
Horo, I'm gonna have you jump in too. Just ask any questions, and Chris, so since Muse is, she's had some internet issues. Okay, so who played Freddy Krueger?
Oh, I know the guys. Oh,
I think I know this one. Robert Englund.
All right.
couldn't think of his name. I know his, what he looks like outside of makeup. Yeah.
There you go. Chris, you got a question?
Oh, I have a billion questions. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. How about this? Okay, here's one. In the movie Dracula, in many of the movie Dracula's nemesis, the old doctor who comes to town to save the day, what is his name?
You mean Dracula's arch nemesis, pretty much.
Arch nemesis. Yeah, you might have seen him in Hammer films. But you definitely saw him in the Bela Lugosi Dracula. Not the actor, just the character.
I can't recall.
You guys got it?
Robert knows.
Go for it.
Van Helsing?
Yes.
Wow.
All right, Muse, are you back from the dead? Did you back from the dead?
My internet is like the real villain here.
It's Michigan. It's Michigan. It's.
Hey!
Come
We're all
on.
gonna gang up on you here.
I mean, it can't be any worse than Florida. So we're on question 6, Muse.
All right. Question 6. All right. So just going to jump right back into what I was doing. In what movie did mispronouncing Klaatu Barada Nikto result in a deadite attack?
The You guys got it. I got it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So
All right. Another Michigander.
yeah,
Starring in this one.
Evil Dead.
Oh.
Wait. That's not right.
Wait. Oh, Robert's giving me the. Okay,
No.
Robert.
Robert.
Same series.
You have to get the right one.
Yes, sir. Robert, go ahead. Save the day.
Army of Darkness.
Yes, sir.
Darkness, yes.
There
But
we
yeah,
go.
same series. So
I remember.
Yeah,
I remember
right.
the scene now. Yeah, because it was. Yeah. No.
Well, yeah, you definitely pulled the Asheville. Yeah, I said it kind of. I didn't say the whole thing, but I said it. All right.
That was perfect. Yeah, I love the way that played out.
Question
All right.
7.
Question 7. Jack Nicholson stars as a lycanthrope in what 1994 movie?
Remember, you guys have lifelines too. You can ask any one of us.
Wolf.
Yes. Yep. I actually the question was phrased werewolf, and I was like, I'm gonna give the answer right in the question. So I'm like, okay, other word for werewolf. Yes, definitely wolf.
I forgot about that movie. That movie was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
That was actually, that's one of those films that's pretty underrated. We don't hear enough about, definitely. Another great acting vehicle by Jack Nicholson. All right, so we're on question 8, I believe. All right. In the movie Night of the Comet, what popular Cyndi Lauper song was playing when the characters of Regina and Samantha were dancing in the mall? Popular Cyndi Lauper song. Just think her most popular one, I would say.
Horo was in this video, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm drawing blanks. I got nothing. So it's up to you guys.
Tim,
Tim says
anything?
no.
All right.
I have nothing.
Girls just want to have fun.
Yes, girls.
You know,
just
I
wanna
was
have
going to
fun.
say that, but I thought
Yep.
maybe that's not her. Boy, I can't believe it. The only question I knew outside of the
Yeah,
other
I
one.
thought I had you guys stumped for a second. I love
Way
it.
to go, Rob.
All right. Good on the first instinct, guys. All right.
Question 9.
Question 9. What are the names of the demon hunting brothers in the television series Supernatural?
Ooh, can I ask my mother-in-law? 'Cause she loves that show.
I don't know, Ken. Can you pull an audible here?
If you want, if your mother-in-law's in the room. I don't
No. Oh man, she talked.
If your mother-in-law is in the room, we got bigger problems to talk about than knowing. You can ask multiple choice, or you can ask Chris, myself, or Horo.
Or you can postpone it if
Or you can postpone
unless he's
it.
already done it.
Let's ask Horo.
Okay.
All right, go for it, Horo.
Sam and Dean Winchester.
Yes, Sam and Dean Winchester. Yes.
Something I know.
I was like, finally.
All right.
All right.
All right, you guys are almost there in the home stretch here. Question 10.
Question 10. What is the name of the character killed in the famous shower scene in the 1960 horror classic Psycho? What is the name of that female character that are killed in the infamous shower scene?
Oh my gosh, blonde hair. I know that. That was the one horror movie I saw, and after that, I stopped watching them.
Right?
I did see that, believe it or not. When I was young. Wow. She just passed away too, I think.
I'm drawing blanks here. Rob, do you know it?
No idea.
Let's do multiple choice, right? That was one of our things, right? We do multiple choice.
Oh yeah. Throw the name out there. I'll get it.
All right. Is it Marion, Carol, or Jane?
Tim, did you catch it?
Plausible. So,
Come
What's
on,
that?
guys, you can do it.
Now, can you give the last name?
Crane.
What's that?
The last name is Crane. So is it Marion Crane, Carol Crane, or Jane Crane? I love how I'm rhyming here.
Yeah.
there's no way it's Jane Crane, because that just sounds crazy.
I'm sorry, Robert. I didn't hear what you said there. Could somebody else say that? I'm sorry, Robert. I didn't catch that one.
I'll go with Jane.
And
Could be wrong.
what was that?
I said I'll go with Jane. Rob, that's what you guessed, right?
No.
No, Rob.
No.
Rob said no bueno on that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Oh,
I
let's
would
go with Carol. Carol.
See, I kind of like Marianne.
I like Kyle's instinct on this one.
I kind of like Kyle's instinct too. I think that should be the final answer. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Marion Crane. Indeed.
Ooh.
All right. All right. Question 11.
All right, this is where Chris may come in. I can definitely see Chris knowing this one. What 1971 film features a group of killer rats that are led by a man seeking revenge on those who have wronged him?
I know that one. Another one I saw, Willard.
Yes, Willard.
Good job,
All
Tim.
I love that. It's a classic movie. Yes.
Good job,
I
Tim.
love that.
Wow, I can't believe it. Willard came back. That was it was kind of a weird film.
It was.
Yeah.
You can say bad. It's okay.
Yeah,
He's not listening. Crispin Glover's not listening. Maybe not. I don't know. He may be.
A lot of rats, though. That was.
Yes, definitely. All right.
Question
Okay,
12.
I'm kind of wondering if Ken might know this one, but this is one I'm wondering if I'm gonna stump you guys on, because I'm going back to the 90s here, and we talk a lot about the 70s and the 80s, but we don't talk about the 90s a ton. So this movie took place in 1990. So what 1990 film featuring Lou Diamond Phillips
Got it.
has his character trying to bring the pentagram killer to justice? Okay, so I thought Ken might know it.
Do you want me to jump in on that? You guys all look
Yeah,
stumped.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The first power.
The first power. All right. I had a feeling Ken would know.
I
that. I want to say you've talked about that one, actually. That's what
I don't think I have, but it's weird because it popped up on my thing. I think it's just because I'm Mexican and I'm like a Lou Diamond.
I'm reading your mind again. It's the second connection. All right.
Great film though. All right, so question 13. This is the last one. This is worth 2 points. So you guys have gone 12 for 12 so far. Or 12 for 13, I'm sorry. You got one more left, so you can potentially go 14 for 13 here, which is a beyond perfect score. So go ahead, Muse.
So this is going to be a true or false question. So 50-50 chance. So true or false, 1970s pop music icon Debbie Harry starred as Nikki in David Cronenberg's film Videodrome. Is that true or false?
True.
That is true. It is 100% true. Great movie as well. All right.
All right. Yeah. Good job, guys. So listen, you guys, yeah, definitely killed it. Kyle, Tim, thank you, and Robert, thank you so much. This is just real quick. I want to ask you guys each, and you guys can take turns here. We'll start with Robert. What you're working on, what's in the pipeline, and where we can find you on social media.
You can find me at social media, at Facebook, and my website, which is graydivision.com, which would link to all those things. I had a short that was planned for the springtime, so now that is kind of pushed indefinitely. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm probably not shooting anything till next year, is my guess.
Yeah, and then Tim, you can jump in.
Yeah, I just did an audition, in fact, today for something out in Arizona, and I don't know if I'm going to get it, but planning another story with Kyle. We're kind of starting to work on that, and I'm kind of like laid back about it now. I'd like to do good jobs. I'd love to act. Actors want to act, and we want to work, but if the right part came along. I had something too, that short that I was supposed to film in March, right when the Corona thing, the COVID was just breaking. It was with U of M Film School. So Muse, you might recognize that. They do a real nice job. And the film was going to be playing at the Traverse City Film Festival. So I was a co-lead in that, and that never happened. But it was fun to get ready for the role. I mean, we were like days apart, days from filming it. Just the way it went.
I'm just curious, where in Arizona will you be filming?
I'm not sure. They didn't say.
I grew up in Arizona. That's why that's my backyard. Yeah, and then Kyle, go ahead and wrap it up. What do you got in the pipeline, and where can we find you on social media?
You cannot find me on social media because I don't have a social media account. But and that's not. I genuinely don't. But you can find the 10 on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and we have a really cool website, survivethetent.com, and we have a DVD that's out that you can buy. But also the website is really kind of all those bonus features, extra features, stuff that we made, Easter eggs, things to kind of clue you in on maybe some of the stuff that's going on. So you can definitely read a little bit about me on there, and maybe I'll join the social media one day again. But right now, I'm getting enough Zoom calls to fill my day up. So as far as projects go, I'm just really, kind of biding time until we can get back into the swing of things, and things are, they're not going to be normal again per se, but they're going to be, at least filmable. And just working with Tim on that, and hopefully coaxing both of these guys back into my next project, because as Robert said, it's like a family, and I loved filming with these guys. So that's the game plan. This is the initial push. I'm going to pull them back in by asking them live on this show. But no, just kind of working on a project with Tim and seeing. There it is.
Yeah, good. All right, Rob. Cool. We want Rob.
Well, there it is. It's official. Robert, Tim, Kyle, you guys are awesome. Great job with the movie. We wish you guys nothing but success. Hopefully, with the next film coming out, we can get you back on the show again. But until then, you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on Where the Scary Things Are.
Thanks, guys.
It was fun. I like the WrestleMania shirt.
Thank you.